Hey, all you pot smokers, let's just say Chris Christie is not your bud. The New Jersey governor calling tax revenue from pot sales blood money. Gary Johnson calls that a tad hypocritical because the gov doesn't seem to have a problem with casino money. That's a very good point, Governor. But what do you make of what he's saying here, doing here?
Well, I'm just outraged, Neil. Talking about the Constitution in your previous segment, I've always viewed the Constitution as protecting the minority against the will of the majority. Look, you have the majority of Americans now supporting the legalization of marijuana, and yet Bernard Noble in Louisiana, black man, father of 7, was sentenced to 13 years in jail for possession of 2 joints. It was his 3rd conviction on possession. No violent crime. He's going to jail for 13 years. That's blood money. That's money that's being spent on the courts, on the prisons, and on law enforcement.
Well, isn't the governor saying that just to make pot legal, which would be an attractive source of revenue for states, and a number of states have that, he's calling that blood money. You're saying it's quite the opposite when you don't do this, right?
Well, it's quite the opposite. I think what gets overlooked when you start talking about revenues from pot is those revenues get dwarfed by the savings in law enforcement, the courts, and the prisons when you realize that half of what we spend in all those categories is drug related. This is tyranny. I guess Christie is out. A vote for Christie is a vote for tyranny.
I don't think that's on his bumper sticker yet, but I will check. But, Governor, what do you make of the idea that it just bumps up the drug chain here, that if you allow pot, you're just escalating other drugs, and that the push will be on to also make them legal?
You know,
that's kind of what
Neil,
I think he's saying.
Would be a better.
Go ahead.
Well, the world would be a better place if all drugs were legalized. Look, 90% of the drug problem is all drugs, if they were legalized. 90% of the drug problem is prohibition-related, not use-related. I think this country is going to take giant steps forward when it comes to drug policy, when they realize that the sky isn't going to fall tomorrow, that the world is a better place when you legalize marijuana, and then start to look at harder drugs and realize that the problems have to do with prohibition. Look, 8,000 people died last year from heroin and cocaine overdose. You could argue that that is all prohibition related, meaning quality, quantity, unknown. I just think that legalizing marijuana, we're going to enlighten ourselves regarding all these other substances. Look, it's never going to be legal to do any drug whatsoever and do harm to someone else. That's always going to be illegal. But smoking pot, doing no harm to anyone arguably other than yourself, look, that should not be criminal. That should be a choice that you should be able to make.
All right, I'm going to put you down as a maybe on Chris Christie, but Governor, it's always good seeing you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Neil.
Thank you. All right, we're